In this video I'm going to show you how to program a MIDI device or MIDI controller. In that case that's the Boss ES8. I use it both for my electric guitar set as a pedalboard controller and as well for controlling the electronics on the computer. So the main idea is to choose an empty slot here. In that case we will choose the third one. And from here we will assign different functions to each of these buttons. I already prepared them as a play button, next button and stop button. But for now, if I press 5, it goes to the preset number 5. If I press 6, it goes to 6, and 8, it goes to 8. So that's not what I want. I want to go back to 3. And the first thing is that we are going now to switch off those 3 switches here. So we go to Edit, Control, and we will go to number 5, enter function off. Number 6, enter function off. And number 8, enter function off. Right. So now, if I again press 5, 6 and 8, they don't do anything, but if I press for 7, it goes to the preset number 7, just to show you. So I go back to 3, and now the idea is to assign them specific functions, and in that case those functions are going to be MIDI messages. So later in Max 8 we are going to receive the MIDI messages and we will assign them like this. We will say that play is 1, next is 2 and stop is 3. So we go again here in the edit section, Ctrl X, enter, and we will now assign the first assignment is this one, assign 1. So switch on source is going to be switch number 5. So we want to toggle. So in the MIDI you have 2 different sources. It can be momentary, so it's when you press a switch and you hold it until you release it, then it means that it will send the message 2 times. First when you press and another time when you release. We don't want it. We want only one message to go through, so it's going to be toggle. Toggle is like an impulse. It sends the message 1 time, and when you release the switch it has doesn't do anything anymore. So that's what we want exactly. Category is MIDI. Channel is number 4, because in my case I'm using the Roland 1 as the MIDI interface between this Boss ES8, and here is the MIDI out. And so I go into the Roland 1, and then the Roland 1 goes in USB into the computer. So it's an interface between this and the computer. And in my case it's channel 4. Then we have CC messages. That's some kind of aside messages from the main message, and we don't want anything like that here. So first message that we are going to send, as I told you, is 1. So it will mean that when we press switch number 5, it sends 1. So that's it, minimum and maximum, and here we don't need it. So right. Then I go back again to the edit section and assign number 2, is going to be switch on, control, the source control is going to be number 6, toggle, Midi, channel 4, 0 for the CC, here is going to be 2, and that's it. Right, right, right. And one last is assign number 3. Switch on, source control number 8, toggle, Midi, channel 4, 0, for the CC, message 3, so minimum is 3, maximum is 3, so it's not a range, it's one impulse, one message. And that's it. And as an option, we will make a sign 4, and this will be from the expression pedal, and I will show you how to create a level meter and how the expression pedal is going to control this level meter, which is quite convenient when you are playing live and you need at some point maybe to control the volume of the electronics by yourself. And so the minimum is going to be 4 and the maximum is going to be 127. And we will do it like this right now, but maybe at some point we will do the opposite. Well, let's do the opposite right now. So that means and we want a 4 and not 0 because we don't want the expression pedal to go below 4. Otherwise, if it sends a message like 3 or 2 or 1 at some point, it will then send a message to play or to be next or to stop, and we don't want it. We want the expression pedal only to control the level. So that's going to be from 4 to 127. So now what we can do is to check in Max if it receives the message that we just created. So I'm going to make a control in box here, and the number receiver, and I'm gonna press 5. Yes, and the message 1 is received, 6 is 2, and 8 is 3. And here my expression pedal is sending messages as well. And as you could see, I put the maximum at 4 and the minimum at 127. So I did the opposite, and I will explain you why later. The Roland one is this small interface here that receives the MIDI messages from the Boss ES8 and then sends them in USB to the computer. So to check the Roland one, we go into this and then window here, and the one has to be that color. If it's gray, it means it's not recognized, but if it's this color here, it's recognized by the computer, so we can start working on the max patch. So we will now create a patch on max 8 that will receive the MIDI messages and then make sound out of it. So let's start. We press N here to create a MIDI in box that will receive all these messages. Here we press I. It's just to check that we receive the numbers. We can press I again and go from here to here, and this one is not going to be decimal but MIDI. So for this we have to go to the inspector here and check here MIDI. Once it's done, we have to press N again and root number 1. It means when we will receive the message 1, it goes here. And from there we can create 2 other objects like that, and it means here is going to be receiving the message 2. I mean, when the message 2 is sent, it's routed here, and when the message 3 is sent, it's routed here. And then we connect everything to the MIDI messages receiver. Then we press B. B is a button. The button is making impulse. So when it receives a command here, for example, when it will receive 1, it will impulse something. And we will see later what exactly. So we make one button for each root. And then the button here is going to impulse something, toggle something, and what is this something? It's a message. So we press M and we will say int 1, which means go for 1, send 1, send the message 1. So when it's receiving a MIDI message 1 from the Boss ES8, it goes, if it's 1, it's routed here, and it goes through the button here, and the button is activated and says, okay, play 1. And if it's receiving 2, everyone is going to receive 2, but it's routed here because it's root 2, and the root 2 is going to impulse this button here, and the button is going to impulse the message here, and the message will be next. And in the third case, when it's 3, everyone is receiving 3, but only this one is responding to it because it's root 3, so it will activate this specific button here, and the message here will be stop or pause. Pause is stop. So now we need a sampler or something that will take the sound files and put them into it. So it's called a playlist. So you press N and then you type playlist here, and that it means play sound files. So this little box here appears, and you go into your folder. So the folder where your sound files here, you take them and you grab and drop them into the playlist. So now we have it here, and we connect every route and every message to the playlist sampler. Now to play some audio, we need an easy DAC. So you press N again and you press easy and you have audio output. It's here. So this box here is the audio box, so that's channel 1, channel 2, and channel 1 goes into 1 and channel 2 goes into 2. That's for L and R stereo outputs. So let's try it now. If I press the button number 5, so as you could see here, the message 1 has been sent to everyone, but only the root one was able to receive it and to play it. If I press 5 again, that's only this button here. And this button says play from 1, and that's exactly what the sampler is doing now. If I press now 6, 6 is going to send the message 2 to everyone, but only here the message 2 is going because it's rooted here, and the message is next. So each time I press it, it goes next. And now the button 8, which is message 3. Everyone received 3, but only the root 3 receives the right message and sends it to the button as a pause to the sampler into here. So that's mainly the idea for playing our electronics. Now I'm going to show you an option that is possible to do. It's what I've programmed into the ES8 that was assigned 4, and the idea is to have a level controller, because when you are performing on your own, it's always nice to be able to control the volume. And of course you cannot do it with a regular thing, but you have to do it with your foot on the pedal board. So the idea would be to create here by N. You press N and you make a control in. And we can put it aside. And then we are going to create a scale. So you press N again and scale. Scale is going to rescale the messages. For example, if our message goes from 1 to 127, we can rescale everything like we want to do. So for example, we could say that 0 then becomes 60 and 127 becomes 70. So then it would mean that we would have, instead of playing from 0 to 127, it would go from 60 to 70, for example. Then we press N again and we will have a live gain here. And we could put it horizontal. So the idea is to say the scale is, for example, for the live gain here, the scale is minus 70 dB range to 6. So that would mean that when we will receive 4, because I said we don't want to receive 1, 2 or 3, otherwise it will play or do next or do stop on the sampler. So we want it to be from 4 to 127. It's going to be minus 70 to 6. That's the scale of our live gain here. And if I put the pedal down or up, it goes that way. So if you remember, I said that the maximum of the pedal is going to be it's going to be 4, and the minimum is going to be 127. So let's start. Let's try this. So you see, as everyone received the message 1 when I press play, here the live gain understands that it has to go to 0. So what we should try to do here is change the scale and say that here it's 6 and here is -70. So now it's going well. And now I can control. Alright, that's it. Thank you for your attention, and see you next time.